Okay, folks, here we go.
Guys, here we go. Let's have a good show.
1B, stand by.
Yeah.
Yacht, stand.
Yeah,
Take it.
like at midfield.
Take
Just go
it.
right now.
Up.
Go to camera 3. 3. Go to the get perfect, just like that.
I'll just go ahead.
Yep, graphics 2 is going to be up for the first. Okay.
Go
Go right now. Go to camera 3. Go. Yep. Go to the get perfect, just like that. No music.
I'm going to hand to Q. Sophie.
Wait for it.
On radio in the Canal Zone.
All right, guys, mic check.
Go ready.
Okay, Ricky, mic.
Yep, I am ready.
Wait for it. 2.5.
Willie, mic check.
Yep, let's go.
1B, stand by.
10,
Couple minutes.
9, 8, 7, 6,
5,
4,
3, 2,
1,
and
we're live.
Okay, and go for it, guys.
Guys, hopefully you can hear us. I don't know if Ricky can hear us or not, but let me know, guys, if you can hear myself talking. I'm not Ricky.
Oh, sorry guys. I just don't hear absolutely anything. But listen, welcome everybody. I'm going to be talking, but I cannot hear. Welcome to our podcast. Happy hour at the Balboa Yacht Club. This is our 110th show, by the way. So we're doing quite well there. And welcome to everybody in Panama that's watching us at the Canal Zone reunion. As you know, guys, this is a
We're good. Yeah, I just checked on it. We can hear.
Hosted by Willie Benioff and myself, Ricky Royo. And we're here to bring you a weekly podcast that talks nothing but Panama Canal Zone. It's people, it's traditions, it's history, it's towns. Anyway, it's a place where we all get together and like the famous song where everybody knows your name. It's a place we also come to toast the eighth wonder of the world. And here we are. Thank you very much for joining us and salute to our podcast and the Canal Zone.
Yep, and I just double checked it, and yes, a couple people told me we can hear us.
You be on your own because I cannot hear you.
Yep, it's fine. It's okay. We're good. What I'm going to do, Ricky, is I'll point to you, and then you talk, I guess. But yeah, I'm not sure what happened here, but all of a sudden, Ricky can't hear us, or can't hear me actually. But anyhow, great show tonight. It is again Friday night. Happy out the Balboa Yacht Club, as Ricky said. You know, we're doing our weekly Canal Zone stuff, reunions and everything else, and getting all that nostalgia. But speaking of reunions, this weekend, of course, the Canal Zone reunion is going on. It started Wednesday night officially, but as most Zonian events, there's always the preseason and the lead up to it and so forth. So been seeing a lot of people posting as they've been arriving in Panama over the last probably week or two, getting ready for the reunion. And of course, the folks for the Canal Zone Reunion Committee have done an absolutely bang-up job, as they always do, to just put together a really, really amazing reunion. Been seeing a ton of pictures posted on Facebook, on social media, and it looks like, again, a very, very successful setup for these guys. Again, these guys just do a fantastic job. Alex Reyes and his group, and I always hate to say that because it's a big group. It's not just Alex Reyes, but nonetheless, they're doing a fantastic job, you know. So kudos to them. A lot of pictures there. We tried to get them set up. What we're going to do is next week we're going to do a recap of the entire reunion. We'll have a lot of great pictures and videos and talk about that, and maybe have some people call in and share their experiences of maybe going back to the Canal Zone for the first time in 30, 40, 50 years. You know, class of 76 was there last night. They had a really, really cool function at the Marriott in Albrook. James Slater was playing music there, and so that was a really good time. But you know, we've got a couple of things we're going to talk about here, Panama wise, and we're going to see if we can do some hand signals here and get Ricky to talk about a couple things that he was going to bring up here. We'll see if we can work this thing out here.
SCN Television presents Que Pasa. And now here's this evening's host, Army Sergeant Bob Foster.
Good evening and welcome to Que Pasa. We've got two guests tonight. First Sergeant First Class Jim Webb. Sergeant Webb's with the 227th Military Police Detachment.
Okay, so he can hear.
Yes, I'm back.
With me.
No, I'm back.
Oh, you did? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm back.
Tell me what you did there.
No, I'm not going to tell anybody.
We'll leave it. You and I'll chat about it later. That's right, Pat. Let's say hello to some people because they've been giving some tech support feedback here. So we're gonna say hi to them. Laura Smith, hola. Yeah, good to see you on here. Wrong name again. I'm gonna log in. Okay, we'll log in and say hello. There we go. There's Jim Duffus. Okay, yeah, we are all ready to go here, and now we're working it out. I know, we were running a little bit late because all of a sudden the sound just went out at the last second, and wouldn't you know it, we
I
get it figured
know.
out.
That's unbelievable how that works, man. And it's always the littlest things. I mean, we do have about 13 things to touch, right? So you start going, okay, not this one, not that one, okay, not this one.
Yes.
Combination, and finally you hit the right combination. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
So of course we have a checklist now, and I'm going to put this one now on the checklist of things we got.
Exactly. It's obviously growing. It's going to continue.
It's growing, right? It's almost like getting on a plane now. All the checklist things we got to go through.
Indeed.
It used to, guys. Before we get going, sorry, I've just got now on a motor mouth all night. But this show used to be it still is a lot of fun for us back here. But it's become real technical for us, man. So bear with us, like we always say.
We try to
Thank you
elevate
so
the
much,
game,
man.
and,
We do. We do. But right on, man.
We still need a producer.
We still need a producer. Anybody out there? Anyway, we're willing to pay too.
Yeah,
so anyway, let's get going. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah,
and
we're good. But thanks, guys, for letting us know that it was working out and that we were both there. We're getting ready to start doing hand signals, even though Ricky and I don't know how to do sign language. But then again, I've seen in the news where like governors and stuff are standing up, and there's an imposter doing sign language. It's all fake and everything. So we would hold our own language.
Yeah. All right. Well.
All right.
We got it. Let's go. Let's do this.
Brother.
Yeah, we got a great show tonight, by the way, guys. I'm sure Willie's already told you guys everything about it, but I've been looking forward to. I just met him, but looking forward to talking with Mr. Hunter. Very, very, very important man in the Canal Zone.
Absolutely.
And looking forward to that.
It's going to be a great visit. We've chatted with him a couple nights this week, getting things set up. And I mean, he does have an amazing story. It really is just an absolute great story to tell. He's got a fantastic Zonian history. And then, I kind of call it post-Zonian history, although there's really no such thing as post-Zonian in that sense, right? But, after leaving the Canal Zone, his life took some incredible terms. I'll leave it that way, but nonetheless, he's just got an incredible story. We're gonna get that going here and have him here joining us soon. But in the meantime, Ricky, what have you been seeing about the reunion? What's been standing out to you the most?
Willie, we got a lot of reunion. We got so much bochincha, guys, to go through. But let's start with the reunion because that is the number one thing that we're seeing in the Canal Zone community happening. But there's a lot of things actually happening, guys. So Wednesday it kicked off at Magoo's Tacos with Las Vegas playing and the beautiful Lisa Palm singing. What a great show. The pictures looks like it was a great turnout. And they had I think today was the golf tournament, Willie.
Yeah.
And that was a big turnout as well. Hey, we're getting a couple of drinks there, Willie. You see that?
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you very much out there. Big day at the reunion. Yesterday Thursday, guys. They had the golf tournament. I thought it was yesterday, but it was today. Yesterday they had the Howard Tour and the Brewer Tour. That looked like a really fun event. Lots of people. Henry HB, one of our local normal guests that we have here, he had a big thing at the Guild Theater last night. Yeah. But the big one, Willie, was James Slater playing at the hotel. That was I think they call it the Midnight Chicken Coop Party. And a lot of people went. Yeah, seen a lot of videos, a lot of dancing. They also had the pollera and all that stuff. So it was a pretty good event Thursday night.
Yeah.
Now Friday night tonight at 5:00, the happy hour started, and hopefully we're trying to get in contact with some of the people there at the Elks Club.
Yeah.
So right now everybody's celebrating at the Elks Club. I'm sure there's a lot of Zonians there, seeing each other for the first time in a while, and what else is happening today? God, I had all this written down.
Class of '86 has their reunion going on there as well. That one is going on tonight. at the Diablo
Here.
Spinning Club. They're having their dinner and reunion there. So that should be a lot of fun. That should be exciting. Hopefully what we're really planning on doing, guys, is next week have a recap show and really, discuss, the things that everything about the reunion, have a lot of pictures and hopefully have some people that'll join us too to talk about it. So, but yeah, that's going on tonight. There's also at the Elks Club at 8:00. There's a get together there as well. So maybe
5 to like 8, and then at 9 p.m. Sorry, we didn't mean to, but this is I did write down. At 9:30 at the Canal House, which is what a lot of people know as the Balboa Yacht Club.
Right.
They're having a big jam session called the Woodstock Jam.
Right.
So and I have a feeling that's everybody that wants to jam gets together and they all go at it.
Sure.
So that's tonight at.
Well, as we've learned, the Zone has a ton of musicians, man. A lot of musical talent in the Zone. So.
Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And book writers like we talked about last week.
No, for sure. So that's cool, man. No, I'm telling you, man, these guys every year they just outdo themselves in with that reunion and everything that they bring with it. And this is no different this year. It really is an absolutely bang up job they continue to do each and every time, man. Kudos to these guys. Salute, man. A toast to the reunion committee for the Canal Zone Reunion Committee. Because, just like we've learned that the reunion in Orlando every year is a monumental task, same thing with this one down there. And imagine them. These guys not only are doing things, events in their hotels with vendors and presentations, etc., but they're also hooking things up for tours. You're going on boats. You're going on trains. They did that Al Sprague tour 2 days ago. Fantastic tour. And they, jump on the buses and go, to the admin to see a lot of his paintings there. They went to one of the banks downtown in Panama. They had, there were several places down there they went to. So the logistics involved in this is just
top notch.
Yeah,
and Andrew Eftemida has a lot to do with all that. And by the way, speaking of Andrew, right now everybody's getting right back from the Twilight Bay cruise.
Yes.
So that's just ending now. And then from there, I swear I'm sure everybody's going to be heading over to the Elks Club.
Yep.
And from there, then you have the big Friday night out show at the Canal Zone House in Amador from 9 to 11 p.m. Canal Zone music featuring Woodstock. So I don't know. That just means a whole bunch of Zonians are going to be out there jamming tonight. You don't want to miss that out.
Yeah.
But Willie, moving on. Sorry, since I'm on the Canal Zone reunion, tomorrow is the big event. Guys, tomorrow it's on the daytime. You're going to be at the pool. A lot of stuff going on. Vendors are open now, and I've seen pictures of that as well. Willie, looks like top-notch stuff there, bro.
I saw several of the coffee people from Boquete are there, and one of them just roasted a new batch for the reunion like a week ago. So you're talking about getting some real fresh roasted Boquete coffee, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, this is unbelievable. And then also tomorrow night, now this is a very important announcement, it's the Panazonian Ping Ding Finale.
Yes.
And, there's going to be a lot of food and a lot of drinks there, but what there's not going to be a lot of is parking. So make sure you get there, Uber, all the hotels, the 3 hotels that are participating. Yeah, the 3 hotels that are participating have bus service to that, so make sure, or carpool with somebody and hopefully you'll find parking. But they told us to make sure everybody knows 2 things: very limited parking, and you cannot pay at the door.
That is correct.
You have to be prepaid. Make sure you do that because you don't want to miss out this big ping ding. It's going to be fun.
It is. And listen, from the amount of pictures that we're seeing and the amount of people that have gone down there, this one's going to be huge, guys. And I don't know if they're still doing it, when and what's going on, but they do that iconic picture on the pier. Right? Somebody gets their drone out there and everybody stands on the Yacht Club pier there with the Bridge of the Americas in the backdrop. This may be the last year that you can do that without the
new bridge back there. Yeah.
So keep that in mind, guys. If even if you're at one of the other hotels and that's at a certain hour, you might be a little hungover. Make it a point to get there, man, because that might be the last opportunity for that special trip,
Yes, it's at they're going to meet at the Radisson Pool House at 5 p.m. tomorrow for the group photo.
There you go, guys. Plenty of time to get ready for that. Hey, Frank, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Good to see everybody. God, we have a good evening to a lot of people. All right, right on, guys. So let's have fun, man.
Yeah. So now, listen, the Canal Zone reunion is not the only gig in town right now, though. Right now, Panama is being represented, or the Canal Zone is representing in Panama big time. Ricky, what else is going on?
Big time. One of the biggest motorcycle race. It's not a motorcycle race the way you and I know about, Willie. It's kind of like the enduro, and we've spoken about it because they are our sponsors of, or have been our sponsors in the past. And it's the Ocean to Ocean Challenge, a 4x4 race, enduro race that goes from the Atlantic side. Willie's got a map here going to be showing us. You'll see the 2 points. On the Atlantic side, it's called Playa Blancas, where they took off today. It's a 4-day event.
Yeah, Playa Blanca is the one up on the Atlantic. So they start on the Atlantic and head towards the Pacific. And you can see here, it's on the west bank, probably 20, 30, 50 miles west of Colon, Cristobal, or all that stuff there. You can see the little yellow marker on the map there. And then, Ricky, from there, they're doing their thing. And where are they headed to ultimately?
All the way down to Playa Venao, as you see at the bottom there in the Peninsula de Azuero. But these guys go, they cross all the way over and they go over the Continental Divide. So It's an incredible tour.
Yeah, they're not going straight down, and it's not a straight line from that one point to the other point there. They're actually going to go, if you see on the map there on that east or that west bank, there's that arm of the Gatun Lake. Right, you see it all there. They're actually going to go up towards Cologne and then down right along that area there, and then they're going to, like Ricky says, cross that Continental Divide, and then they'll start heading west to get around that bay or whatever you want to call it, and then head down that peninsula there. So it's like Ricky says, it's 4 days, man. This isn't something going to do quickly.
4 days, and they have like skiing. They got the different levels, so you don't. It's not going to be they have the bunny slopes, the green slopes, the blue slopes, and the black slopes.
And it's not a race in the sense of start and finish and who got there first. It's about completing it.
Yeah,
it's about doing completing it. Yeah, because it's. You are going through, like Ricky says, you're going from beaches to mountains and jungles and rivers and beaches and everything else again. So it's.
But there is a racing component to it, and they've got some international riders here from all over the world participating in this.
Right on.
And one of the persons that runs this is none other than our very own Jerry Curtis.
Yes.
He's him and his partner put this together. I believe it's their 5th or 6th year that they've done it.
Yeah,
and it's growing. It's huge. It's a big event. Lots and lots and lots of participation.
There's a lot of YouTube videos out there about this event that aren't Zonian videos. In other words, this is a global event now that people are recognized from around the world that are, that look at this as one of those type of challenges, right? You have the Baja race and things of that nature. And there's certain races that are known as the races that, I guess you could almost say, Ricky, it would, if not yet, at some point it's going to become a bucket list race.
Because of the difficulty of it.
Right. Exactly.
The black runs are very, very difficult.
And think about the notoriety of it, right? What do you do when you're going from the Atlantic to the Pacific, right? So that in itself gives you that.
And crossing the Continental Divide. I mean, come on. How many people can say they go from one area to the other?
Yeah. So
right.
It's going to be really interesting. And again, congrats to Jerry Curtis on that. He's. This guy's done just so many amazing things, in his career and he continues, so good stuff there. It's going to be exciting to do that. But we're going to move on here. We got to get our sponsor in here, and then we're going to get our guest of honor who's standing by. And coincidentally, we're talking about a motorcycle race here.
Champion.
And this gentleman is a motorcycle racer indeed. So looking forward to
world champion like Jerry Curtis, too.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be, a great story that'll be coming up here in just a moment. But, as always, we got to give love to our sponsors. They're the ones that keep us on the air here. So let's have a chat with our Howler Monkey Gamble. And by the way, guys, this is a 6-month sponsorship, so we're not quickly bringing everybody on. We're gonna bring on several other monkeys throughout this campaign as we go along here. But anyway, let's say hi to Gamboa in case you haven't met Gamboa yet. He's one of the.
Oh, it's been a while since we saw Gamboa.
Yeah, and he's another one that's trying out to be a sponsor or a spokesperson for Howler Monkey Sauce, which you see on the bar there. There's the 4 different flavors: the red hot one, the amarillo, you have the original, and then you have the verde. So Anyhow, check out Mr. Gamboa here telling us about this howler monkey sauce.
Howler Monkey Sauce sent me to the jungles of Panama in search of their new spokesperson, and let's see if we find them.
Hey, listen, you don't need to keep looking for a spokesperson. You found me. I love this Howler Monkey hot sauce.
Wow. Okay, and what's your name?
They call me Gamboa up here in these trees.
Roll camera and action.
This one, the Amarillo, is going to be amazing on chicken. Trust me.
Do you know a howler monkey who can describe the sweet heat of our original with authentic ají chombo peppers, or the fresh punch of verde where habanero warmth meets crisp bell pepper? How about the bold tang of Amarillo, yellow Scotch bonnets blended with mustard seeds? And of course, our hot, the same great flavor as original, with red habaneros for that fire. Our sauces are all natural, no preservatives, gluten-free, pure flavor and pure fire. Are you the next howler monkey spokesperson?
Okay, we got it. We got it.
All right, so
Yes.
that's our howler monkey, our sponsor. That is Gamboa, and then we've got Mac also, who grew up around Howard Air Force Base. He's joined us as well. We have our friend Chime, who's still he's still not ready to make his debut. He's still a little camera shy, but we're gonna get him on there. And then we have our fourth one. This is gonna be interesting. What we're gonna do for the fourth one is we're gonna put it out there to the audience. And think about it. The fourth one is for the red hot sauce. Okay, so throw in some ideas, come up with some ideas. Obviously, you've seen the theme here behind it all. This is all Panama stuff, so it's original Panama hot sauces, some great Panama flavors. So what we're gonna do, and you guys throw in some ideas. We'll set something up to put that out there, and we'll maybe offer a prize of a Canal Zone, a Happy Out the Balboa Yacht Club t-shirt, and maybe a 4-pack of hot sauce or something, for the winning name. So start
We'll have
getting
something
creative
good
there
for
on
them.
that one. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a male. We've had 2 male, and the other one is there.
Oh, good,
Just
good.
for
I
what-
like that. Could be a girl. Yeah,
creativity
yeah.
here.
Definitely. Good answer.
Yeah, but anyhow, that should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that, and then of course, we're looking forward to having our first guest here join us, a gentleman that's got a great Canal Zone story. He's also got a great professional story. What I would honestly go out and say is a world-changing story. Okay, and I'll leave it at that here. But this gentleman is agreed to join us. Thank you, Coach John Wolf, for connecting me with our guest Ted Henter, who's going to join us here. But anyhow, without further ado, Ted, thank you for joining us. Welcome to Happy Out the Balboa Yacht Club.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, Rick. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's our pleasure. Absolutely, we've heard lots of stories about you. In our promo video the other day, Ricky and I were kind of chit chatting on it, and he mentioned that he's heard about you a lot, your whole life or his whole life, and now he gets to actually meet you and get to know you. So thanks again for taking the time to join us. Really, really do appreciate you doing it. So anyhow, guys, Ted Henter, and we'll just dive right into his story. A lot of people know him. A lot of people have chimed in saying, hey, they can't wait to hear this story and hear from you, Ted. You've obviously go to the reunions. You're a very active Zonian. So give us your story of your Canal Zone story, your early Canal Zone story. We'll start from there.
Well, okay. I was born and raised there in the Canal Zone in 1950. Went to Balboa Elementary, Balboa High School, Canal Zone College. Started surfing in 1963. I was the first gringo surfer in Panama, as far as I know.
Okay, right on.
Pardon?
No, I said that's interesting. So you were the first gringo surfer. We've been talking about doing a surfing show, and now we know where to go and find out where the the Aiden or the Eden of it was. Okay, it was now we know it's Ted Henter. Right on. Okay, so carry on, please.
Yeah, so I was sitting out there in the break one day, by myself. My dad was on the beach in case I needed help. I was, 13, 14 years old, and I see these two Panamanians walking down the beach carrying surfboards. And it was Ruben Miro and his brother Tomas Miro. So they were the first surfers in Panama, to my knowledge. And I was the first gringo surfer. So, and then a lot of other Zonians joined us.
And where did you guys surf? I remember Rio Mar being a real big surf spot for your age group.
Yeah, it was. That's where we all started. And then one day, my dad and I, it was my dad's idea, let's go look for some surf spots. So we cruised up to Gorgona. And in years past, we could look east back towards the canal. We could see the blowback off the wave. And so I said, let's drive down there. We had a Jeep. We drove down on the beach. And there was this beautiful little break. Beautiful waves, very small, 1.5 to 2 feet high. But it looked just like the pictures I saw in Surfer Magazine on Malibu. So I named it Malibu. And over the years, that name has stuck. So now if you go up the Pan American Highway, you'll see a development for Malibu. And it just came out of that one day with my dad. A lot of surfers in my generation, we're in our 70s now. We love that place. It had a beautiful break. It had an offshore breeze most of the time. The beach was built up from a river that flowed out there, so you had kind of like a pyramid or a triangle. So the break would go left or right depending on the swell position. It was just a great place to go surfing.
Interesting. So let me ask you this, Ted. So surfing in the 70s. So would you say that late 60s, early 70s was the beginning of the Zonian surf culture, I guess?
I would say early 60s, 63, 64.
Okay. So in the 60s then, you're surfing in the 60s for about 6-7 years here. Who in your mind is the best Zonian surfer out there in that era?
You mean besides me?
Well, of course, I'm sorry, second best.
Well, there was C.J. Roy, Scott Williams, Rick Williams, Ruben Miro. There was a lot of us that were, for that group, we were good, and we didn't shy away from when the surf got big, 8 or 10 feet. We were out there. So there was half a dozen guys.
Yeah, and Ted, somebody just chimed in the chat that if you could speak a little bit louder, there's kind of a bit of a background noise, but anyhow, here you go. Okay, we'll check my WhatsApp for class of '86. Awesome. Okay, let me get something here. We got somebody chimed in here from class of '86. Here we go. Oh, look there. Oh, that's awesome. They have us on. Oh, Ricky, they have us on the class of '86 graduate. Sorry, Ted. Somebody just messaged me that the class of '86, my graduating class, has their dinner reunion is going on. So right on, class of '86. Thank you. That's awesome. You guys made my night. I wish I could be there with you guys. Hopefully, if we can do part 2 in Orlando, and hopefully you guys can make it there. We can definitely have our 40 reunion there as well. But party on, guys. Have a great time. So, all right, Ted. So now we go into the 70s. You're surfing now, and is it safe to say that the 70s now is really when surfing started really getting popular in the zone? Because it sounds like in the 60s it was kind of a small group that was really the surfers out there before it really started getting more popular. Is that a safe assumption?
Yeah, by the late 60s, there was only about 20 surfers there, to my knowledge. But see, I quit around that time because I got into motorcycles.
Okay.
And, you go to the beach to go surfing, and half the time there's no waves. So that got to be a drag. But when I went to go motorcycle racing, anytime they say there's going to be a race, there's going to be a race.
Right, there's always a track.
So I switched to motorcycles in the late 60s, which was my high school years.
Well, and back in the 60s, you probably had to almost like motocross racing to get to that beaches anyway. I mean, those roads weren't very accessible from some of the pictures I've seen anyhow. I mean, you were already off-roading it.
Yeah, well,
Where
Real
did you
Mar,
guys ride?
There was a road in Real Mar. It was only about a quarter mile long. A dirt road, but a road. But Malibu, you had to go down this other dirt road and then down the beach for 3 miles down the beach. And you could only do that with a four-wheel drive or a Volkswagen Bug. So, yeah, and it did restrict it a lot. Rio Teta was there. I think that was easy to access. There was a dirt road there. So the places we surfed in the 60s wasn't too hard to get to, but there was a lot of exploring going on. I made a couple trips with them, the Roll Brothers, other surf spots. But the two I just mentioned, Rio Mar and Malibu, they were the big ones in the 60s.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to when we do our surf show again. We'll definitely bring you back on and revisit a lot of those surf stories. But the motorcycle stories, this is what I can say would you say initially put you on the map, right? Was motorcycle racing?
Yes, yeah. I was a professional motorcycle racer, expert class. After I worked my way up, you got to start out. In those days, you start out as a novice. Then you move up to junior if you want a race or two. Then you can move up to expert. So by the time I was 23 years old, I was expert class in the U.S. and I was fastest qualifier at Daytona. I was second at Talladega. I won the Grand Prix of Canada. I had some good successes and a lot of failures, to be quite frank.
Well, that's part of learning is the failures as well, right?
I was very exuberant, so I sometimes pushed it too hard and I crashed. A couple times I had mechanical problems. I crashed in Laguna Seca. I cracked a vertebrae in my neck, a broken collarbone, a broken ankle.
Wow. Okay, yeah, we seem to have lost him. He fell out here. Hopefully he'll jump back in here in just a moment. I think there is a bit of a connection issue there, but yeah, that's incredible. I didn't, he had mentioned briefly about the surfing, but we were focusing a lot on when we were chatting with him about the motocross.
Yeah, no, we have been trying to get this surfing show, and now we know where it started because that's what we were looking for. Is where did it start? We've heard that Panamanians were already doing it, and he just now let us know that is the fact.
Yes, he just confirmed that. Absolutely, that's awesome, man. So that's great, and then surfing, and then at some point he decided, hey, I want to get into the motocross racing, and
surfing. I mean, that's probably why. Two reasons why I never surfed. Right? A, Jaws. B, was that. Half the time you went out there was nothing to do. It's just flat. Or we didn't have all the technology to let us know where the waves are like they do nowadays. So, missing. You can't miss waves nowadays. So hopefully we'll get Ted back because his story is phenomenal. But so far, what we've learned is he graduated in '69 from Balboa High School. Ted, started surfing as a 14-year-old, which sounds very, very Zonian.
Yeah, right.
One of the things that the Zonians, that you guys all remember, like to do was skimboarding. When every time it rained, we had our little boards, and we would just skim, especially El Prado, because I lived right in front of El Prado, and so I can see where surfing came from. And then Ted took up motorcycle. I'd like to find out where in the Canal Zone he started riding, because through Jeremy found out that not only that was there motocross, but there was also flat track.
Yes,
in the Atlantic side. And I think by the motorcycles that I've seen Ted ride, it seems like he was more like a street racer.
Correct.
Yeah,
that is correct.
Yeah, I think we got Ted back.
Yep.
Oh,
you're
right
back.
on.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, sounds better.
We were talking about your how you got started with switched over to motocross racing. We were about to ask you how that change happened, and then the early success leading up to your eventual professional success and going international and stuff.
Ever since then, I wanted to be a racer. So by the time I got to be 15. I could get a motorcycle and license instead of a car. So of course I got a bike, and then of course I wanted to go race it, and I went racing with the Isthmian Motorcycle Association, and I had a lot of older friends that were bike riders, Bill Weigel, Larry Lehman, Mike Bell. So we had a very active club, and that was motocross. But I really wanted to go road racing, which is on pavement where you go really fast.
Sure.
So we had a couple races at France Field, the old airstrip over in
Right.
on the Atlantic side, and then I rode my motorcycle from Panama to Texas in 1967.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that, okay? Because that is, my family and I went up, drove up to the States one summer for vacation, but in '78, so a full 12 years later, and even then we found some of the highways and roadways were not as up to par and whatnot. So I can only imagine in '67 what that was like, and then let's back up for a moment here. '67, you haven't even graduated high school yet, and you're riding a motorcycle through Central America. How did that even come up?
I was 16, but the true story is my parents decided to drive their car up to the States from Panama. And I was going to sit in the back seat of a Chevrolet. I said, no, can I drive my motorcycle with you? And they said, well, okay. I was 16 years old. So I basically followed them. A couple of times they let me go ahead, and it's okay, meet us up there in such and such a town. So
sure.
But it took us 2 weeks.
Okay, right on.
And it was a great experience. It was a 250cc Suzuki X6 Hustler that I rode. And the funny part is, when we got to Texas, my parents wouldn't let me drive the bike. It was too dangerous to ride the bike.
Isn't that crazy? So safe in Central America and Mexico, but America, no, I can't do that.
And along the way, there was at least a dozen rivers that had no bridges yet. So there was always somebody there with a tractor trailer or a bulldozer. So they'd hook up the cables to my parents' car and drag it across the river. Shallow rivers, 2 feet deep most. And then the 2 or 3 guys would pick up my motorcycle and just carry it across the river.
Sure.
That's how we got across.
Now, what did the customs and immigration say in all these border crossing when they see a 16-year-old kid on a motorcycle crossing the border?
Well, I was with my parents whenever we got to the border crossing, and we were. At that point in time, we were U.S. citizens, and that carried a lot of weight.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I remember that when we crossed the same way. We got hurried through a lot of places. For us, the scariest part in '78 was it was still the middle of the Civil War in Nicaragua. So, we had family in Costa Rica. We stayed at there. They had a farm that was fairly close to the border. So we stayed there for about a week. It was just a fun time there. And then we got up early in the morning and crossed the border into Nicaragua. And by 3 PM, we were in Honduras. I mean, we were stopping maybe for a fast bathroom break, and that was it, and get the heck out of there. But it was a lot of fun going through Central America and seeing, all that country and all the different, cultures and everyone. And it's always cool when you go through these places because they always, you take it for granted being in Panama in the zone, being an American there, because they're used to seeing Americans there. But in a lot of these other places, they look at you as if you've got 3 heads on you or something. A lot of times, it's rather interesting there. So it took you 2 weeks to get to. Now, were you guys going to Texas, or were you going further past Texas?
No, I was going up to Minnesota to work on my cousin's farm. So I spent 6 weeks working on his farm up there, and then we went back to Panama. And those 6 weeks, I realized I don't want to be a farmer. I better go to college.
That's funny. I love it. That's awesome. So now we get to '69. You graduate BHS class of '69, right on, and then from there, where's your motorcycle career now?
Well, my freshman year, I went to California, go to Northrop Institute of Technology. I bought a 250 Montesa there, and I did a little bit of racing there, not much, very amateur. So I didn't have a group with me. I didn't have a team. I didn't have friends. So I went back to Panama in '71, and my buddies and I went to the Central American Road Racing Championships in Guatemala. Wow. And I borrowed a bike from the Honduran team, and I placed 3rd. So I thought, gee, this is pretty cool. So in 72, I went to the University of Florida, and I bought a bike, and I went racing in the novice division. It's a professional division in the States, but it was novice. And I won a couple races. Next year, I got promoted to junior. I won a couple races. In '74, I got promoted to expert. I never won. Well, I was fastest qualifier at Daytona. I was 2nd at Talladega.
Wow.
I won the Grand Prix of Canada. And, so I had some success. I was usually, top 10.
So let me ask you something, Ted. In Daytona, right? I've been to Daytona, but never to see a motorcycle race. I've always gone there to see the cars. Now, in street racing on a motorcycle, you from the limited, you know, view that I've got of it, they lean really far on those turns, and obviously that seems rather precarious when you're going that fast in those turns. But in Daytona, do you guys go on the big high banks on the ovals there on the track?
Yes and no. About half of the racetrack for the motorcycles and sports cars is on the big oval, the banks. The rest of it's on the infield.
Okay. So you get a little of both then.
Yeah, you get a little bit of both. Yeah, but on a 750, in those days, the biggest class was a 750cc.
Okay.
And a Yamaha 4-cylinder, which I had, and most people had, we get up to 180 miles an hour on the banking.
Wow.
And then in the infield, you slow down for the infield, of course. But
sure,
if you're familiar with the track, you come from the infield. You come out on the banking on NASCAR turn 2 and go down the straightaway.
Yeah,
and then you hit NASCAR turns 3 and 4, and then you're back to.
Okay. Yeah. So you get some pretty good speed coming out of that turn 3 and 4 then.
Yeah, you're doing 180 miles an hour in the expert class on a 750.
Wow. And I imagine you got to hit the brakes as you go into the road course end of it, right?
The road course is a 180-degree left-hander, but you're quite a bit slower there, probably 80 miles an hour going through there.
Okay.
It was exciting. And Talladega was very similar because of the very big NASCAR-type tracks.
Yeah.
Similar idea with Talladega. But I want to race in Road Atlanta. That was probably my favorite track.
Okay. And that's all road course, isn't it?
Yeah, that's all road course. And so is Mosport Canada. I was racing there on a Kawasaki hired me in 73 to race there in a 24-hour race. So there's 4 guys on a motorcycle at one at a time, of course.
Right.
And you could race about an hour, and then you come in for gas, and somebody else takes over. So I'm out there racing about 2 a.m. And this is a 750 Kawasaki. It goes about 130. So I'm going down the back straightaway. I got 3 headlights on there, and it's just lit up. It's just lit up like daylight.
Wow.
With 3 headlights.
Sure.
So I come to the end of the straightaway, and I shut off the gas, and all 3 headlights blew out.
Oh no!
At 130 miles an hour, and I'm going into a turn at a corner. I can't stop. So it was just a muscle memory.
Right.
I didn't have time to think. I just leaned into I put on the brakes, I downshifted, leaned into the turn, and I made it back to the pits. And then they changed the lights. My crew did it, changed the lights, and that was a great race. And we ended up second. The bike I was on was second, but our team bike was first. So we had a very good weekend. I really loved that racing at night.
So you have 4 people and you're racing about an hour, give or take. So what is it? The rest of the time you're trying to get some rest and trying to sleep? Like, I imagine with the adrenaline, it's hard to sleep.
Yeah, you don't sleep. You might rest and have a Coca-Cola, but you don't sleep because of the adrenaline, and you got to get back on there. And because I was on a bike with a real professional, Art the Dart Bauman, he and I did 8 hours of the 24, 8 hours each, and the other two guys did 4 hours each.
4 hours each, yeah, certainly.
So we were the 2 top guys on that particular bike, and so
now, is that common in those situations to have 2 that are going to be the primaries and the others are going to kind of help out a little?
Yeah.
Okay.
In that case, it was because we had 3 bikes on our team, 4 guys on each bike, and one of our bikes, the 500cc, crashed during the night. And the other bike was the Z1, which was the fastest bike in the world, production bike.
Right.
That year, 1973. So yeah, it was common. Yvon Duhamel was one of the best motorcycle racers ever. He was on the number 1 bike, and a good Canadian was with him, and then other not so good Canadians. And like on the bike I was on, it was a California guy and me, and then a couple of Canadians. So that was quite common to have a couple of really fast guys. And I think the issue was we were getting paid. So some of the guys with 12 riders, right? Kawasaki might have been trying to save some money because back in '73, very few people were getting paid to race
I was going to say there wasn't the money in the sport that there is today. That you know, if you're getting paid, you got to be pretty damn good. I would assume.
Yeah. Now you guys are too young to remember the Arab oil embargo. That happened in 1973.
Right.
So in 72, there was like 24 motorcycle racers in the United States that were getting paid by the big factories and by distributors and parts manufacturers and whatnot. By the time I got to be an expert, there was only one guy getting paid by the big motorcycle companies.
Wow.
So the money disappeared. The same with boats, RV,
sure.
recreational vehicles.
Certainly.
All the recreational motorized things like motorcycles, the money went away because if you had to wait in line to get gas to get to work, you're not going to buy gas to.
Yeah, they're not prioritizing a motorcycle race. That's for sure. Wow. So one of our folks is chiming in. One of our guests, Jim Duffus, he's mentioning here, Billy Waggle, Mike Bell, and Larry Lehman were always great to watch on the flat track. Later, Jerry Lee Ransom showed everyone what could be done on a Bultaco Astro. Interesting. So do those names ring a bell to you?
Yeah, those first three guys are my good buddies. Weigel, Lehman, and Bell. They're my good buddies, and they were excellent racers.
Nice. The
last fellow, I don't know. He's much younger than me, and I left the Canal Zone, you know, in 72 to go to college.
Right.
So I missed the really the golden era of Panamanian motocross racers. There's a lot of good ones.
Yeah. Oh yeah, indeed. Well, and that's like we were just mentioning earlier before you came on was, Jerry Curtis, who's had a great career, and he's in his 60s and still winning races, and he's just doing an amazing job. And him and a partner of his, a Panamanian, have started this ocean to ocean motocross race.
I heard that. Yeah. Jerry's a friend of mine. I was just I had lunch with him about three months ago.
Oh, wonderful.
And I used to go bush riding, jeep riding with his father.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, he was mentioning that's how he got his start. Was he'd go behind his dad in the Jeep, on his little motorcycle, and that was one of his first early taste of motocross racing, and obviously it was.
There's a lot of good motocrossers in Panama. I was not a good motocrosser. I never was very good at it. I never really liked it, but I did it because that was the only racing around back in the in the late '60s and early '70s.
Right.
All I wanted to do was road race, and so I did that once I got to the States.
And was there any road racing other than France Field in Panama? Like, was the Panamanian guys involved with any of that road racing?
Yeah, there was. We did a couple races at France Field. I wasn't there. I happened to be in the States at the time, but there was a race on Balboa Avenue.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Probably around 72, 73. And there was actually a custom-made racetrack out by Tucumán Airport that a gringo made, and it was a very short track, but it was a very nice track. I raced on it a couple times, but it was based on one of those red dirt hills, and so when the rains came, it got washed.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, because that's that clay.
Yeah,
man, that's
racing was pretty good. And I was on the Panamanian team for this 1971 Central American Road Racing Championships, but we were all gringos except for one Panamanian. He was a very good racer that raced a Ducati, and so it was Weigel and me, Bill Weigel and I were road racing, along with this other fellow, I can't remember his name, and then Larry Lehman and Mark Schneier were doing the motocross. So Weigel crashed. I finished third on a borrowed motorcycle. And then Lehman won the motocross, and Mark Schneier was second in the motocross. So we had a great week at Guatemala.
I can imagine it's got to be frustrating for other riders that you come in here, you borrow a bike, and you beat them all. And they're like, "Come on, man! This guy didn't even bring his own bike, and he wins, or comes in third ahead of all of us, man. What's the matter with this?"
Well, yeah, but see that in that case, I came there with a Norton 750 that my friend had built and wanted me to ride it. So I was out there learning the track and doing well, and I crashed. But the funny thing is that when I crashed, there was so many people, there's no crowd control. I was surrounded by people, and I couldn't find my motorcycle. finally, and they're all jabbering to me in Spanish. And finally, I said, "Motocicleta, motocicleta, donde?" And one guy dragged me over the bike, and I got in, and I got back to the pits. A couple laps later,
No
this is
crowd
just in
control.
practice. That bike broke, so I'm
Yeah.
sitting there in the pits. My buddy Bill Weigel had just crashed, and he was out. I was out, and here comes this two Honduran guys and say, "Hey, you want to race our motorcycle?" I said, "Well, yeah."
Heck yeah.
Honduras was having some sort of border dispute with Nicaragua. The Hondurans were having a dispute, and they weren't allowed to race, but they had this beautiful Honda 750, brand new, the fastest bike on the road in that year.
Okay. Ooh,
Sure.
nice.
So I got on it, no time to practice. I rode it back up to the starting line, and the flag drops. Well, it had an ignition key. Okay, I turned the ignition key off, and I'm sitting there waiting for it. And I turn it on, and I bump start the bike, and it starts easily, so I turn the key off. Then the flag drops, and I bump started, and it wouldn't start. Then I realized, shit, I didn't turn on the key.
Of course. So
So
now you
now
have
I'm
some catching up
last.
to do.
Now I'm last on a bike I've never raced before, on a brand new motorcycle, and I didn't know where I was relative to the other riders. I knew I was passing a few, and I
Sure.
ended up third.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. So I would imagine you. I guess you could almost, well, depending, I guess, on how far behind first and second you were. But had you not done that whole key fiasco, you might have won the race.
Actually, I doubt it because the guys in front of me were very good racers, and they had
Okay.
what you might call real racing bikes. See, the bike I was on was a street bike with lights and mufflers and all that.
License plate.
Using turn
Yeah.
signals.
It was a very fast bike. Don't get me wrong, but I think those guys would have beat me no matter what.
Right, I got you. So now you're having a lot of success. Third place in Central America now, and then where does the racing career take you next?
Okay. Then I went to the States, and I did really good as a novice. I won a race at Laguna Seca, and I got disqualified because I had a Yamaha front brake on my Kawasaki.
Are you
And,
kidding? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Weird
Rules are rules,
rules.
I guess.
Then I got a second at Talladega that year, and then as a junior in '73, I did a couple races. I won at Road Atlanta, I won in Texas, and I decided to spend a summer up in Canada. I had a friend up there and a place to stay, and the Canadian Championship race was coming up, and so I went there and I won that one. And then Kawasaki called me up, and they wanted me to ride one of their bikes at the 24-hour race, which I've already mentioned.
Right.
So that was pretty much the highlight of my career in '73. Because after that, I went to Laguna Seca, had a big crash. I went into turn one. I cracked my vertebrae, broke a collarbone, broke a wrist, broke an ankle. So I was out of racing until March of '74. And that's when my first year as an expert, and that's when I came back and I beat Kenny Roberts, probably the most famous racer of those.
Yes, Yamaha. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that name.
Yeah, I beat him in the heat race, so I was the fastest qualifier. He was the two-time U.S. champion, and then after I beat him, he became, I think it was a three-time world champion. on
Man, right
Yamaha.
on.
And then that same year, he won at Talladega, and I was second behind him, but pretty far behind him at Talladega. So that was my '74. And then Harley hired me to ride their bikes in '76. I didn't do very well. I crashed at Riverside. So my career kind of petered out. Like I mentioned before, there wasn't much money in racing because of the oil embargo. And then I got married in '76, probably the best thing I ever did.
Right on. That's it. That's right.
And I did some amateur racing, and some of my buddies and I did some 6-hour, 8-hour races. And at the end of '77, I decided, well, I got to do something. I'm not getting any younger. Actually, in '78, I was 27 years old. So I'm going to make one more shot at it. I'm going to go to Europe. That's where the World Championship is.
Okay.
And whether I win or lose, I'm going to meet a lot of people. I'm going to have.
That's a big adventure. You're going across the pond here now. It's a whole nother world.
whole nother world. And I already beaten a lot of those guys when they come over to the U.S. So I knew
Okay.
I was
Okay.
top 10. You know,
So there's
top.
familiarity there. It's just a different environment now, and now you're going to their home turf and doing that. But real quick, before we go to Europe, let's go back to Panama for a moment, because one of the other things that you did before you got into your motorcycle career is you paddled the Cayuca. We've talked about that a lot here. That, in fact, that was one of our early big shows with the Cayuca ratio, and obviously we're going to have another one of those. But tell us your version of the Cayuca race and what that was like in the '60s that you were doing that.
Oh, it was fantastic. That was when the Boy Scouts ran the race. So I did the race when I can't even remember 65, no, 66, 67,
Okay.
and 69. I didn't do a 68 because I had a broken leg from a motorcycle crash.
Of
It was
course.
great. It was a lot of fun. It was Boy Scouts. It was a lot of kids getting together and racing each other. My buddies and I finished the race second in 1969,
Wow.
and then I went to the States. So I gave up Cayuca racing for 29 years. So I came back in '98 as an alternate for the guys that won the race in '68. My buddies, and they
Okay.
asked me to be an alternate in case one of their guys couldn't show up. I was like, okay, sure. So I get to Panama, and they don't need an alternate. So somebody else comes along and says, "Hey, Ted, we need another paddler. You want to race in our boat?" I said, "Well, I guess so. I don't want to I don't want to be a spectator." So I get. You probably heard of the slave galley.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The big one.
The big one, yeah. So okay, but I didn't know there was going to be 6 Navy SEALs in the boat with me.
Wow.
And I'm 47 years old. I haven't been working out. I'm a software developer,
Right. Of course.
and these guys are 200 pounds and all muscle, and I'm
Right. And they
I'm
can
100
paddle across an ocean.
Yeah, I'm 150 pounds. So I was in the boat, but I didn't. They could have done just as well or better without me, but it almost killed me. It was really tough, but I was hooked. So I
But you
bought a
did it.
boat.
You went back and did it again.
Yeah, in 98, 99 and on. I've started the race 17 times,
Oh,
counting
okay.
my teenage years,
Right.
but I only finished 15 times. There's a
Well,
couple of years it was really rough. There was one year where 27 boats out of 80 needed help in the second day. You go through
Banana
the
Channel, probably.
Yeah. So
wow, 80 boats. That's a big contingent.
Oh yeah, from the 2000s to the 2020s, there was like 18 boats in the race. And so anyway, my boat and I, we had a tough time. We swamped about 6 times in the Banana Channel, and the same thing happened another time. But well, yeah. So I'm not a professional Cayuga racer.
Right.
But I
Well,
was in a boat. I finished second in 2002 with a couple of young guys and a friend of mine up here in St. Pete. So I really enjoy the Cayuga race. It was a lot of fun. It still is a lot of fun. I have 2 really good Cayugas on my house in Panama, in case anybody's interested.
oh, right on. Okay. Well, yeah, I know they do a lot of what they call regattas now, and it's kind of evolved what they do down there, but it's still
Yeah.
it's a great history and a great legacy here. And then Dodd Dupree's chiming in here in the chat. He said, "Great to hear this directly from the source after hearing so many stories from my mother, Janet Sutherland, who absolutely loved Ted and his wife. Respect." Right on. That's cool.
Thank you, Don. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Great story there.
Oh
All right,
yeah, the younger generation always heard about Ted.
Yes.
Growing up, we always heard about Ted. Ted Henter.
Yeah.
And here we are with Ted. Yes.
100%. And, it's something that's been brought up several times that, hey, when are you going to have Ted Henter on? Because it really is. There's a great story there. And we're going to go ahead and switch gears here with this story, because you get to Europe now. And then this is where, obviously, your life is going to change, in a very dramatic way, and really kind of rewrite your future and really rewrite the future of a lot of people, as we're going to find out here. So tell us about Europe now, and where you ended up, and how all that kind of transgressed.
Sure. Now, one question: can you guys see me?
No, we can't see you, but I've got a picture of you up. I've got a picture of you and Mel.
All right. Yeah, we still have that technical problem. Okay. Yeah, I decided to go to Europe. I was going to go one more shot. If I didn't succeed as a motorcycle rider, I would work at being a motorcycle race engineer, because I had an engineering degree, and I was very clued into how motorcycles work.
So motorcycles was going to be your life and your career.
Yeah. So one night I'm leaving the racetrack at Brands Hatch, and I'm stressed out. I was jet lagged. I had a lot of things on my mind. I didn't have a lot of money. I had 3 motorcycles being shipped over to Europe for the next race in Spain. I was in 8th place in the World Championship at that point. And I'm going back to my buddy's place in London in a rent-a-car, and I forgot you're supposed to drive on the left.
Yeah.
In England. So next thing I know, I see the lights ahead of me, and I swerve to the right like an American instinctively, and the British guy swerved to the left. So we hit head on at about a 30-degree angle, and I hit the windshield, broke the windshield with my face, and detached my retinas, so I was blinded. The other people were wearing seatbelts, thank God. I wasn't. So I ended up in the hospital. I had a couple surgeries. And after about a 3-month period, I had to face the fact that I was going to be blind. And, nothing I had ever done before prepared me for being blind. I was an engineer. I was a surfer. I was a water skier. I was a motorcycle racer, which was the love of my life.
Right.
Besides my wife.
Of course.
And
but every one of those required eyesight.
Yeah. So here's the key. So I woke up in the hospital after the second surgery. I couldn't see a thing. It was dark. I knew I was going to be blind, and I was in despair. I was really bummed out. If you want to use it, anyway. And then a warm feeling came over me, just like there was a spirit in the room. And that spirit sort of said to me, don't worry about it. You're going to be okay. You just got to figure it out. And I believe to this day that was an angel. It just came and told me that.
Absolutely.
So I've always, when I had the down days, which I had for 3 years, it took me 3 years to really get over this being blind and get a new career and start feeling happy about being blind. And I always remember that, let's say an angel, I think it was an angel. So I always fell back on that whenever I had a setback, and whenever I was, oh, gee, I'm blind. I always fell back on that. So, but after 3 years, I had been back to college. I learned how to be a computer programmer. I got a job with this guy named Dean Blasey, who's world famous in the business of technology for blind people.
Okay.
And then when I walked into his office, I felt this is where I belong. This is really great. And my self-esteem came back.
Okay. And let me ask you, Ted, this gentleman that you went to work for, was he also blind?
No.
Okay.
But he grew up next door to a famous blind inventor, Tim Kramer.
Wow.
And so he would cut Tim's grass and do other favors.
Sure. So there was a connection there anyway toward.
Yeah, there was a definite connection. And Dean went to college, and he was an electrical engineer, a computer scientist. And then Tim called him one day and said, hey, if you can make a talking telephone directory for the University of Kentucky, we can employ a couple of blind people. So Dean went to work on that and made a talking telephone directory.
Wow.
So when you called the University of Kentucky in those days, you might be talking to a blind person. And then they would look up on the talking computer, the caller would want Professor so-and-so, and then they'd punch in the number. And so then Dean made this talking computer that the state of Florida bought for me, and I got a job with Fortune Hotels. That's another story. And Dean and I became friends because I kept calling him up and saying, how can I do this? Why doesn't it do that?
Right.
So after about a year, he hired me, and I learned an awful lot from him. That was like a PhD in computer science. So that's how my career in what we call access technology, computers, high-tech stuff for blind people. Thanks to Jeff Fortune, who gave me my first job, and Dean Blasey, who taught me most of what I know. And then Dean's company went out of business for a variety of reasons. And I got hired by this guy to train him to use computers, because that was what I was doing then as a consultant. So I went to Chicago to train this blind guy, and I was blind, and I knew more about computers than he did. And he hired me to train him, and it just so happened that his grandfather invented 7-Up.
Wow.
So he was rolling in dough.
Yeah,
So
I bet.
we became friends. We went water skiing together. Well, he had a place in Florida too. So we would go to Cypress Gardens, take a lot of lessons, water ski lessons over there. And one day he just said, "Hey, let's start a business." I said, "Well, okay, but I don't have any money." He said, "Don't worry about it. I'll pay you."
I got 7-Up. Don't worry.
I'll pay the bills. You run the company. So that's
great. Let me backtrack for just a moment there, though, because you mentioned water skiing, and I did see also that that's something that you're very adept at. As far as is that like a I guess a group or an association, like a blind water skiing
Yeah,
thing?
yeah. There's a whole. It's the
Community, I guess.
Disabled water ski contest.
Okay.
So I grew up water skiing when I was 5 years old, and then it switched to surfing and then motorcycles. So after
What a surprise that you also did water skiing. You did surfing, you did motorcycle riding. What a surprise that you did water skiing. Of course.
Yeah. So after I was blind, I was working with this guy, Dean Blasey, up in Maryland, and I heard the news there's going to be a water ski contest for disabled people. And they have different categories: blind, low vision, leg amputee, arm amputee, these different categories. So
Okay.
shit, I want to do that. So after about 20 years, I got back on my slalom and got up the first time, and I went to the contest. And that's a long story. I don't want to go into it now, but I didn't win that one.
Okay.
But I won a couple of others, and I went to Norway. My wife and I went to Norway. I didn't win that one either. And then a year or so later, we went to London, contest for disabled people. And I did win that one in the slalom category, and I was third in tricks. And then I think it was 4 years later, the international contest was in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I've been practicing a lot. So at that contest, I won the slalom, the trick, and the jump, gold medals.
Wow,
and
look
of
at
course,
you.
the overall gold medal.
Heck yeah.
But I'll tell you a funny story about the one in London. And we're at this small lake by Heathrow Airport, and I'm standing around with 6 or 7 blind people, guys and girls, and Richard Branson was there.
Okay.
He's on the dock. He's dressed in a tuxedo, and he came out there to get some publicity for this contest for
Right.
the disabled people. Do something good, I guess. So he's standing there on the dock with his arms around these two good-looking chicks in their bikinis. They were competitors. They were leg amputees. And so the three of them are standing there on the dock, and the TV cameras going. Now, this is what I've been told later, because I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Right.
And so I hear the interview. They're asking Richard and the ladies questions, and all of a sudden, I hear a splash, and people started laughing. Well, Richard Branson had put his arms around these ladies and started walking back off the dock, and all three of them splashed into the water.
Oh no!
And he was in a tuxedo.
Well, you have to wonder with him if that wasn't a stunt, because he was known for that. That guy was
Yeah, he was doing it. He was doing it for fun and for publicity.
Good for him.
Everybody loved it. Everybody started laughing. Even the blind people started laughing when we found out what happened.
That's great. Let me ask you this: so you were going back to your accident. You were in London. You had your surgeries and all that stuff. How long did you remain in London before you left?
Well, it's a good question. They didn't know that I was going to be blind. They kept telling me, "Oh yeah, you can't see now, but one eye is full of blood, and that will clear up." The other eye was damaged by the glass in the windshield. Well, it didn't clear up. Then they figured out I had a detached retina, and I could go to Russia or United States. So after I spent 6 weeks in London, because I had a broken knee also.
Okay.
They couldn't get on the airplane because you got to bend your knees.
Sure.
So I showed up at Baskin Palmer Eye Institute in Miami, and I walked in there, and they called me in. I looked in the binoculars, and they said, "Yep, you got a detached retina." So it took the Americans, Baskin Palmer, 20 minutes to figure out how to detach retina. It took the British medical service 3 weeks to figure it out.
That's crazy. Wow.
And I had my surgery. My first one was by what they called the Michael Jordan of eye surgery.
Okay.
Guy named Mockamer. And the surgery was successful. It actually reattached the retina, and I started to regain my sight in one eye. But they told me after 6 weeks, you might have a problem because scar tissue. Well, sure enough, 6 weeks to the day, the retina came off. Second surgery was not Dr. Mockamer. He had moved on to Duke University. And anyway, that was not successful. And that's when I woke up and I knew I was going to be blind. And that's when I was visited by the angel.
Sure. That's when you had your epiphany.
Yeah. And
Okay.
so that was 3 months after the accident. I realized, okay, I'm blind. And I'm not going to say that I just went to work at figuring it out. It took me a while to overcome the emotional.
It's a big adjustment too in your life.
Yeah, big adjustment. I didn't know what I could do as a blind person.
Right.
You know, out of the blue, this is the way my life goes. Good things happen. I had this counselor, a guy about 65 years old, Division of Blind Services counselor. That's the state agency that helps blind people. And I was trying to figure out what to do for a career. And he said, "Well, you already have an engineering degree. Why don't you go to learn how to be a computer programmer?" I said, "Well, that's a good idea." So that's what I did.
Right on. Hey, good thinking.
And I've been doing that for 40 years.
Right on. And then now, and I know we're kind of jumping around different areas here, but I'm trying to connect some dots and stories here then. So back to the water skiing then, and you went back to London. Was that difficult having, going back to kind of for lack of a better term, the scene of the crime?
That's a very good point. I haven't thought of in years, but yeah, it did freak me out when I was in a car and we're driving on the left like I should have been.
Right.
It definitely freaked me out. I don't even think about that anymore because I'm so used to being blind now. But when you ask a question like that, and when I think about those early days when I just got out of the hospital, I was still in London. Yeah, it freaked me out, but I'm way over that. I'm a very happy blind person. And the amazing thing to me is, I got tired of walking around with a cane, so I decided to go get a guide dog. And I spent 3.5 weeks at the guide dog school. And that was the best thing I ever did as a blind person. It gave me so much confidence and courage and just feeling good because there was another dozen blind people there at the school.
Okay.
And I met these really positive, happy blind people. And I thought, oh, shit, being blind's not so bad after all.
Right. It's amazing what other people's outlooks can do for your own psyche sometimes, and just give you perspective, I guess, right? And all these things. Now, how do these guide dogs? How does that work? Is it are you paired with a dog early and then do that bonding period, or how does that work?
That's pretty much. You show up at the school, and you spend about 3 days figuring out how to get around the school. Where's the dining room mostly? We had
gotta eat.
We had rooms with 2 occupants and a bathroom.
Okay.
And you learn a little bit about the campus, and then you get explained how the dogs are supposed to work and all that stuff. And about the 3rd day, you meet your dog. Well, see, first they interview you. Okay, how old are you? How strong are you? How fast do you walk?
Okay.
What do you do? You got to go to school. You got to go to work. They kind of figure out who you are, and they've already been training about 20 or 30 dogs. So they know who the fast walkers are, who the strong
right on.
ones
So they're going to match you up with one that's going to fit your personality.
Exactly.
Your style. Okay.
Exactly. So then about the 3rd day, you meet your dog, what they think is going to be your dog. And he and I just hit it off. Nice. He was a big Labrador, about 90 pounds. And he was a fabulous guide dog. And so it's just amazing to me. You know, that was the campus, and then they put us in a van and take us to in town, which was the clubhouse.
Okay.
And then we'd go out and walk around the block with a couple trainers and 3 blind people, 3 guide dogs, and a couple of trainers. And that's how we're learning how the dogs work. And they walk along the sidewalk, they avoid the light posts and the fire hydrants. They stop at the curb, and then you give a command, right, and they turn right. And that way you build up confidence in the dog. And after about 3 days of that, then you do it by yourself. No trainers, all by yourself. And they tell you, all right, this is it, buddy. You're on your own.
You're gonna make it happen now.
If you make it back to the clubhouse, that's good. If not, well, I'm looking for you.
So a successful return is your diploma.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
And you know, it's really, I was so impressed with this dog. I'd walk down the steps of the clubhouse. I tell him right, he turns right. Walks to the end of the block and he stops right on the curb. So I put my left foot out, okay. And I say right, and he turns right again and walks to the next block. We made it all the way back to the clubhouse, no problem. And that was like graduation. I thought, man, this is really cool.
That's awesome.
Because 4 years earlier, I'd been around the racetrack at 180 miles an hour.
Sure.
And that was a thrill. But when I made it around that block at 3.5 miles an hour, that was a thrill.
That was great speed then.
Yeah.
That's
doing it by myself without another human helping me.
Ted, I have a question for you. When we spoke earlier in the week, when we did our show prep, you had mentioned a parrot in your life. Opal, I believe. You want to tell us about Opal?
Sure. My buddy, Dean Blasey's son, Brian, bought 2 of these blue-fronted Amazon parrots as an anniversary present for his wife. Well, they got divorced, and each human took a parrot. So now Brian's got this parrot, and he's busy. He's on the road all the time. He's just in sales for his dad. And the parrot's alone a lot, 3 or 4 or 5 days in the cage by himself. And the neighbors would come over and give him food and water. So when I found out about this, I said to Brian, hey, if you don't want that parrot, I'll take her. And he gave the parrot to me.
Nice.
This is a $3,000 parrot.
Yeah, no kidding.
Buy one. And this parrot was already humanized. She loved, we thought it was a guy, but we had a blood test and it turned out to be a girl. So Opie, we named her Opal. So she just loved being around humans, especially me. She would sit on my shoulder 6 hours a day while I was sitting on my computer doing emails or whatever. And when I was on the treadmill or we'd go for a walk around the block with my guide dog, she just loved sitting on my shoulder. And it was just a great relationship. But she just died a year ago.
Oh, yeah. Really, birds live a long time. That's the one amazing. A lot of those, I guess, talking birds or parrots and that
parrots, yeah.
family. They live a long time, is what I've been told.
Well, this parrot was 18 years old when I got her.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so she was like 40 something when she died.
Jeez, that's amazing.
Yeah,
man, it's too bad dogs don't live that long. Gosh.
Yeah, that is true.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah, so I really loved that parrot. So my heart was broken when she died, and my buddy that gave her to me, he knew the trainer, the breeder.
Right.
He said, yeah, I got another parrot for you, but it's blind in one eye. I said, well, I don't care.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
That's like kin right there.
Yeah. It turns out he is not blind, but his eyes got some sort of birth defect.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So anyway, I said I'll take him. So the breeder had already sold this bird to somebody else who abused the bird for some reason. I don't know exactly why. So the breeder said, I'll give you this bird for free. I said, okay, I'll take her. So we've had Ojos for since May.
I love that name. What a great name.
As you guys know, that means eyes.
Yes, indeed. What a great name. That's very clever. All right, so you've gone into now computers. Okay, you're becoming an engineer, and you've got this assistive technology and all these great things going on there. And now we want to talk about JAWS, because on the screen here, although you can't see it, there's a graphic here, and it shows you on a motorcycle, a couple other things here, and then a whole big computer set up there with a big shark in the middle of it. So tell us what JAWS is, and tell us, because I think this is where the Ted Henter story takes another dramatic twist. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
Okay.
If you, yeah, I'm very well known in the blindness community for developing JAWS. So my buddy Dean Blaze, who I mentioned, I worked for him, and I learned a lot about making computers talk. But his business, he went out of business, and that's when I met Bill Joyce. And I'm training Bill Joyce. And when I'm training him, I say, I wish it would do this, and I wish I could make it do that. And so finally, like I mentioned, Bill says, "Well, let's start a business." So we did. Bill was paying the bills. I was running the company.
And guys, this is not Bill Joyce from the Canal Zone, mind you.
No, totally different.
Yeah,
no relationship. So we're developing the screen reader for DOS. MS-DOS. That was before Windows.
Okay.
And I knew a lot about it because I'd learned from Dean, and Dean and I had done a lot of really cool things for screen readers. Excuse me. So I'm cruising up in Georgia one day, going to a police dispatcher, a blind police dispatcher, to train him to use computers, because they were switching from radios to computers.
Okay.
And they asked me to come and train this guy. So I'm cruising along with my buddy, and we're trying to figure out, what are we going to call this product? Well, it happened to be a similar product on the West Coast of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And a college professor had developed it, and it was called Flipper. So
Okay.
I said, well, let's call it JAWS, Eats Up Flipper.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
JAWS was the big deal then,
Heck
That was like 1986.
Nice.
So when I got back to the office, nobody liked it. Oh, not JAWS. But I kept calling, JAWS is going to be ready in September. JAWS is going to do this. So after about a month or so, the other people in the office said, okay, we'll go with JAWS.
It grew on them.
Yeah, Ted, once you guys became the industry leader, what specific innovation about your product set you up to be the industry leader?
Excellent question. When we knew we had to develop Windows, see, the DOS screen reader was relatively easy. You go to Windows, it's a totally new ball game, and I can talk to technicalities, but I don't want your listeners.
Oh, we got smart people. They're good.
Yeah, we got a lot of nerds here. We're good.
But what it really was, I hired this blind guy that he used to call me all the time for tech support, because I was a tech support guy and a programmer for Dean. And we became friends, and I knew he was very smart. He worked at UCLA, a very smart blind guy. And I've talked him into coming to work for me to develop this product. And he and I knew a lot about what screen readers should do. And so I basically designed the user interface. And by that I'll say, I'm trying to see how to make this real clear. He was the real technical genius that did the programming.
Okay.
And I was the visionary. I've heard him say that about me before. I was the guy that decided what it should be like.
Okay.
And I was busy running the company too, because I was doing tech support and all this other
Sure.
stuff. So the thing about JAWS was, number one, it worked. When we released it in January of 1995, we were the first product for a screen reader for blind people that actually worked. You could do something in Windows. And see, that was a big challenge, because a lot of blind people were using a DOS screen reader and they were being employed. American Airlines, UPS.
But everything was going to Windows.
Yeah, they're going to lose their jobs.
So real quick, Ted, just in a brief, maybe if it can be done in one or two sentences, describe what a screen reader is for the audience to understand.
Whatever you can see on the screen, a screen reader will read it to you in a synthesized voice. So
Okay.
if you got an email up there, it'll read it in a synthesized voice. If you're writing a document in a word processor, it'll read everything on that screen, and it will tell you the font size, the color, the
Okay.
font style. You can read it by word, by sentence, by paragraph, by character. So
Okay.
it'll read whatever's on the screen except for pictures. But now, even now, with artificial intelligence, it will tell you what the picture is.
Sure. It can describe the images as well.
Yeah. So whatever's on the screen, whatever a sighted person can see, a product like JAWS
Okay.
can
And what
read.
was the challenge with Windows versus DOS? Why was it so much more difficult with Windows?
In DOS, whatever you see on the screen, A, B, C, E, F, G, that's an 8-bit or maybe a 16-bit a memory character, a character in memory. And you know where that memory is? You can go in there and you can get those characters, and they
Okay.
actually relate to characters in the American Standard Code for Information Interchange,
Okay.
ASCII.
ASCII, right?
Windows, all you see, what you see, what a sighted person sees on the screen, it looks like letters or numbers, but it's not. It's just a series of dots that are in the form of a letter or a number.
So it's basically a painting.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good analogy. So inside the computer, the actual codes for those symbols, those letters and numbers are there. But once it gets up on the screen memory, where a sighted person sees it, it's no longer a recognizable symbol in the computer code. So the screen reader has to go into the memory of the computer and read what's there and somehow connect it to what's on the screen. So it's basically a database of what's on the screen.
Sure.
Very, very complicated. A
Right.
Dell screen reader, we could write that in a year. A Windows screen reader took 4 years, maybe 5. And we got help from other people too. Even IBM helped us.
Well, and you know what's interesting is like earlier this afternoon when we were trying to work on getting that connection going, and then you had Mel helping you out, and she couldn't see the mouse, and so again, it's an interesting concept here because we take it for granted that I take a mouse, I move it on the screen, and I see the cursor, and I can click on whatever I want. But you know, in your case, something has to tell you where the cursor is at the moment so that you can click accordingly, or something to that. Is that? Am I assuming that correctly?
You're exactly right. Yeah. See, a screen reader for Windows can follow the mouse, but you don't know where to put the mouse, and
Right.
you use the keyboard to move the mouse up, down, left, right, and all that stuff. Because moving an actual mouse, it doesn't really help much. But
Right.
the other thing a screen reader does is you follow the actual cursor. You know, when you're in a word processor, you have a cursor.
Yeah.
So when you hit the delete key, it deletes whatever that letter is.
Sure.
So there's two different, let's say, pointers. There's the mouse pointer and the what we call the PC cursor.
Okay.
So JAWS can use either one. You turn one or the
Okay.
other, and read around the screen. So, and then in a product like JAWS, you have an algorithm to when you hit a key that says go to the next word. When you have an algorithm that says, okay, the next word's over here, you go past the space, and there's 5 characters. Okay, that's the next word. You know, hello.
Okay.
And then hit the next line, and so the cursor moves down a line, and then JAWS reads all those characters. This is I'm going to be on the Panama, the happy hour at the Balboa Yacht.
Yeah. Right.
It says whatever's there.
Yeah.
That's
And
what
you know what's interesting, Ted, is that because I was here, I could hear it in the background as you were doing it, and to me, it sounded very fast. Is that normal, and is it something that you using it all the time? You can kind of like I guess they say a quarterback in football when they reach the NFL, all of a sudden the game is so much faster. But for somebody with a lot of experience, the game really slows down. So, are you hearing these things at the same speed I am? And because I could hear certain key words on it, but you know, I could kind of figure out what you were doing. But man, it was going fast.
Yeah, see, we're talking about 150 words a minute.
Wow.
Well, I listen at 400 words a minute. And only because I've been doing it for 40 years and I'm used to it.
Correct.
You listen to the radio and a song comes on, in the first few notes, you know what that song is.
True. That's
Or
true.
you
Okay.
recognize it. So me and several million blind people around the world have been listening to that same voice or some similar to it for
Right.
many years. So you just get used to it. And
So let me ask you, can you read an audiobook faster than most people?
Yes, I can. I read a lot of audiobooks.
Okay.
But I like to listen to it at normal speed
Okay.
because I'm enjoying it. It's
Sure.
pleasurable, and I don't need to.
It's a leisure moment. You're
leisure
taking
moment.
it in and getting to experience the description versus here where it's quick access and information to move to the next spot.
Yeah, and the technical difference is if you speed up a human voice, there's a lot of things that change. It doesn't sound good. It's not
Okay.
that clear. But if you speed up a synthetic voice, like the
Right.
ones that I use, not all of them are that way, but the ones that I use, yeah, it's very clear the way it pronounces things.
Sure, it doesn't garble it with the speed change.
Yeah, and when I'm reading, even at 400 words a minute, if I hear a word it doesn't sound right, I know it's misspelled. I'll stop the reading, go back and
Oh wow,
look at it,
incredible.
and I catch a lot of misspellings that way. And then of course I can use a spell checker too, but that's another story. So it's great technology, and I'm not taking credit for all of that. I did happen to come along at the right time, learn from some really good people, and hired some really good people, and being a very very competitive, we managed to take an existing technology and make it better and make
Right.
it accessible, and that's why our product is the most widely one used in the world now. Now I have to clarify that our product. Well, I don't own it anymore. I sold the company, but it costs from $500 to $800 for this
Okay.
software.
Okay.
Well, now there's software out there that does almost as good for free. And so,
Wow.
so when I say that, oh yeah, ours is the most widely used, well, people argue about that. But the difference is people that use JAWS, they had to pay for it, and they paid for it
Sure.
for a reason because it's the best one. Anybody can download the free one and try it out, and then go back to JAWS when they need to. So just
Okay.
because the other guys have as many installations as JAWS does, that's the difference. Theirs is free, and
Right.
if you got a spare afternoon, you can download their software.
Okay.
So that's
So okay, now so job access with speech.
yeah,
That's JAWS.
correct.
So which came first, the name JAWS or the acronym?
That's
Or the
another
word?
story. I want to tell you that now. When I was on that trip in Georgia, I
Right.
said, let's call it JAWS. It eats up flippers. Okay, so that was going to be it. So the name came first, and
Okay.
then people started saying, well, "What the hell does that have to do with a
Right.
big shark?" So that's when I had to think of the acronym,
Okay.
the job access with speech. But see,
Nice.
so now we made 1,000 brochures with the name JAWS and the picture of the shark coming up underneath the lady swimming on the
Mm-hmm.
top of the water. Maybe you guys don't
Sure,
remember
like the
that.
book.
That was the iconic picture. A woman swimming along and a shark coming up underneath her.
And don't
That was
forget
on
the
a
song
brochure.
that goes behind goes with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm in the office one day and my wife says, "Hey, Universal Studios is on the phone. They want to talk to you." I said, oh
Oh
shit!
boy.
And they said,
And it probably wasn't congratulations.
"No, it was, hey, you can't use that normal name. We got a trademark. You can't use that picture. We're gonna sue you." I said, "Wait a minute. We're a very small company. The two guys own the company, and we're both blind, and I'm one of them. And we only have two other employees, so we're a very small company. And all we do is make software for blind people." And so the guy's sitting there on the phone, and the other guy says, "Well, I'll call you back." So a couple days go by, he calls me back. "All right, you can use the name JAWS.
Very nice. A little sympathetic action there.
Yeah, but only for software for blind people." I said, "Okay, that's all we do.
Sounds
But you
good.
can't use that picture anymore."
And
that's fair. Now, what is the percentage of people, blind people, that use your product versus somebody else? Now, I read 80%. Is that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Ours is people that actually use, blind people that actually use a computer. You know, there's a lot of people that don't have access to computers or even electricity. So, but of the computer users out there in the world, 80% of them use JAWS.
And that's why you're the industry leader. And around what year did you become the industry leader? You started in 86.
Yeah, and we were second or third up until 96.
Okay.
So for 10 years, we struggled in a very small market, and that was JAWS for DOS screen readers.
Mm-hmm.
But when we came out with JAWS for Windows in January of 95, we were ahead of the two major competitors.
Sure, that was your leapfrog moment.
That was our leapfrog moment, yeah. And then ours, when they finally did come out, our product was arguably better. So by, let's say, January of 96, a year later, we were clearly the industry leader.
96, 10 years. Wow, that's amazing.
Now,
and it says here you had that you were featured on 60 Minutes. So tell us about that and what that did for JAWS.
Yeah, that was in 97. And I got a phone call that 60 Minutes was going to come to the office. And at that time, we had about 50 people working there.
Nice.
And 20 of them were blind. So, what's her name? The chick, 60 Minutes girl.
Diane Sawyer?
No.
Ooh, with Barbara Walters?
No.
Man.
I'll think of it. I keep talking. Anyway, she showed up with her camera guy and a producer, came in and went around the office, talked to a few of the blind people working there, and then interviewed me and knew a little bit about my history and all that stuff. And then she starts giving me shit about, well, how much does your product cost? Well, then it was $500. How can a blind person afford that?
Of course.
I almost thought of her name. So she was giving me shit about that. And I tried to explain to her, look, yeah, that's true that it is a lot of money, but blind people don't actually have to pay for it. Like in my case, the government, because I had a job offer, and the government brought the technology for me, and that's the way it works in the Western world. The government will buy products like that so that the blind person can get a job. So if you don't have a job, you're sucking up tax money.
Right, you're investing in getting somebody off of, for lack of a better term, the government nipple.
Exactly right.
Okay,
exactly right. The government of Florida spent $12,000 on me when I had a job offer.
Nice.
I wasn't even a professional programmer, but I had the potential. So anyway, I explained to her. God, I can't remember her name. And so finally, and she was giving me shit about it.
Leslie Stahl.
Pardon?
Leslie Stahl.
Yeah, that was it. Leslie Stahl.
All right. There you go, Jim Duffus. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So,
well, Willie, you might want to read this too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Dodd Dupree's putting in here. Ted is an incredible human being. I believe 100% that he's been blessed, and I'm so glad he listened to the angel. Indeed. Indeed. Well put.
Thank you.
Yeah. Indeed. Wow.
So, but the other thing about Leslie Stahl, finally her producer said, "Hey,
there's Mr. Dupree."
Yeah, there's Frank.
And
Frank
Mr.
says that Mel is another angel.
Says that Mel's another angel. Yes.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. She stuck with me. I mean, anyway, I have a few friends when they went blind, their wives dumped them.
Wow.
So I'm very fortunate.
Wow.
We'd only been we dated since we were 17 years old in high school. We got
she's from the Canal Zone.
Yeah.
Balboa girl, like yourself?
Yep.
You're a Balboa guy, but she a Balboa girl?
Class of 69.
Nice. Right on.
Right on. So you marry a Zonian. Good
for you guys. Congratulations.
So we were only married for 2 years when I went blind, but she hung in there.
Right on, Mel.
Wonderful person.
Yes.
So I got
Wait
one
second. Let's do a cheers to Mel.
Yeah,
cheers,
salute.
Mel. Salute.
So this Leslie Stahl, when she gave up the idea of we were ripping off blind people,
Right.
and she walks out the door, she found out I was a world champion blind water skier.
She didn't get the story she wanted.
Yeah, that's right. She didn't get the story she wanted. So anyway, she told the producer, "You got to get this guy water skiing." So we went up to. We had a little place on the lake in North Florida, and the next day we went water skiing, and got that on 60 Minutes too.
Oh, nice. Right on. I'm gonna have to go in the archives there and look that one up. We'll definitely have to. Maybe we'll throw it in there next week on the show. A little recap there. You know? So you got a lot of great success now. 60 Minutes has profiled your product and obviously your skiing abilities and everything. At what point did you sell the company, and how does this how did all this come about?
Well, in 1999, we were making a lot of money. We had 70 employees. 30 of them were blind or low vision. We were doing very well, but Microsoft was talking about producing their own screen reader, a competitor to ours. And I knew the guy that was in charge of that department because he used to work for me.
Wow. Okay.
That's another story. So
yeah.
I was afraid that they could put us out of business because their product wouldn't be as good as ours. I was confident of that.
Well, and they were steamrolling the computer world at that time anyway with Windows and everything else. They had really changed the world.
And their product would be free. So we couldn't charge $500 for our product if Microsoft was putting out free. So that and the fact that along the way I had hired an older gentleman, Jerry Bowman, who was our chief operating officer, and he pretty much ran the company. I worked with the developers, the programmers, and and I worked with Jerry when it came time to hire somebody. But he actually managed the company, and that's a big job. But anyway, he was going to retire for the second time. He was already retired when I met him 10 years before.
Right.
And I didn't want to run the company. I'm not a very good business person. I like fiddling with making things.
Yeah, right.
So that's and the fear of Microsoft putting us out of business, I decided it's time to sell. And anyway, I got somebody that was interested. I had two friends that owned businesses also, and so we combined our three companies. And this other guy came up with the money, and our three companies were combined to become a company known as Freedom Scientific.
Okay.
And so that's why I sold it. And me personally, I had invented some software to teach blind people how to do math, because up until then, to do math in Braille is very difficult. It's a totally different Braille code. Braille alone is difficult, but when you try to do Braille math, it's very difficult. And then once you do it in Braille, you can't show a sighted teacher, oh, here's the math I did the product. How it is in math, you do several steps.
Right.
Answer. Well, you can't show that in Braille, especially if the teacher doesn't know Braille. So it was pretty
interesting. I never thought about that.
So I had invented that in '97. I got a patent on it, and my daughter Emily is the one that taught me that. I was trying to teach her how to do arithmetic. And I could tell her how to do it. I could give her the answer, but I couldn't show her, with a pencil.
Show how to work the problem and carry the one and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, that stuff, exactly right. So I wanted to develop. I was going to go to work with this new owner, and that was going to be my product. He was going to give me a couple of programmers, and we were going to do that. So we just had a personality disagreement, and I basically got fired.
That's par for the course with you.
After about 6 months, I got fired, and so did my friend Dean Blasey.
That's great.
We didn't like the way the new guy was running the company. And then a year later, the venture capitalist fired the new guy. So that made me feel good, but I still was out of a job.
Right.
So it was so much fun. I mean, it was very stressful in the early days, me being blind and then starting a new company. And those like 10 years I mentioned, that was a real struggle. We weren't making a lot of money, and it could have gone bad at any time. And
we were just fortunate to make a few good decisions, hire some very good people, and a lot of another story I haven't told you, that sometimes the phone would ring and say, "Hey, you want to try a new synthesizer?" Oh, okay, we'll send it to you and try it out. So we tried it out, so we really like it. So instead of paying $500 for a synthesizer, that's a separate piece from a screen reader. The
Right.
synthesizer is what actually makes the sounds that sounds like the English language.
Right,
These
right,
guys,
okay.
these guys were making a synthesizer, and it wasn't good enough to answer the phone. You know, that was the big deal in those days. You could buy a deck talk for $1,200 to answer your phone. Well, these guys had a product that I loved for $6 a piece. And it was software. So what? If we bought up their software for every copy of Jaws, we could have it for $6 a piece. So we bought.
Heck yeah.
We bought it from them. We included it on the CD for Jaws free. I mean, no extra charge. And that's another thing that put us over the top. And one of the things that we brought to the market that really made a big difference in our product.
Sure. So in other words, you guys perfected a lot of products, and a lot of times that's the added edge is, for example, that synthesized voice that suddenly, makes a world of difference in how they're receiving it.
Yeah, it made a big difference. Another thing was Microsoft came out with Windows NT, which was secure.
Okay.
And the thing about doing a screen reader for Windows, you had to hack into the operating system. Well, that's what the banks didn't like. That's what the airlines didn't like, hacking into the operating system. So Microsoft came out with one you couldn't hack into. Well, then they realized that all these blind people that were using JAWS for Windows were going to go out and going to lose their job.
Sure.
So
Not gonna be able to work.
Microsoft actually came to us and said, "Look, we got to solve this problem." So our guy, Glenn Gordon, our chief technical officer, got with their guys and figured out how to make it work, and they made some adjustments for us. And so we were the first ones to have this new Windows NT accessible, a JAWS for Windows NT. There was things like that just walked in the door for us.
Well, I think that's part of that big plan, and this is something I learned many, many years ago, was that the Lord works in mysterious ways. And sometimes these plans work out a certain way. You take you're talking to Leslie Stahl here, and all of a sudden they want to change the story, and next we've got a water skiing story, and somebody else sees that, and you went over here and did it. Just these are a series of coincidences, but they're not coincidences, right? And that's again part of that plan, right? And I'm a firm believer in that, and that's where that faith comes in. That in your case, you talk about having an amazing outlook for something that most people look at and be like, wow, that's the end of my life, right? And here somehow I truly believe, like Dodd said, you were blessed and you were selected to do this because you're going to make life for a lot of people a lot better, right? And I mean, just the fact that your company had 30 blind people in it, that these people had a job because of what you were doing, right? And so I think that's part of that purpose, Ted, that was bestowed upon you. And you've made the best of it. I mean, I can honestly say God knows that He made a good choice here, right? Because you've definitely made the best of this. So it ended up being was it Microsoft that bought you guys?
No,
it wasn't.
No, but just for a moment, let me say I agree with you totally, Will. That's exactly the way I have come to figure out what happened to me. Why wasn't I more successful as a motorcycle racer? How come I was blinded? And how come I became so successul? Well, that's the way God planned it.
Yes, that was the plan. It was a plan,
So-
and you fulfilled it. You put in that faith, and you said, you know what, we're going to make this happen. If this is what I was set out to do, because I mean, let's not kid ourselves. You did go from an amazing, life which evolved a lot of sightseeing, right? From motorcycle racing and from writing software and engineering and all these incredible things, and all of a sudden you are, for lack of a better term, hit in the face with this. And what do? You turn around and just create an incredible legacy for yourself and so many other people. And that, like people have shared on here, that it really is a blessing to a lot of people.
It's a blessing. Ted, now,
Thanks.
let's say we've got some friends that just need a boost to get going. What do you recommend? What do you suggest? What can you tell the Zonian community when we're feeling down and we just need that boost? What do we reach down and look for?
Oh gosh, that's a good question.
Sorry for that question, but
good question, Rick.
I feel like you're the one that can answer it.
Yeah.
Well, see, in 1995, I was working as an engineer. I had to get away from motorcycles for a while because I wasn't making any money. And I got sucked into going to a revival, one of these Baptist revivals.
Right.
And I didn't want to go, but I had a coworker that kind of dragged me along. And that's where I accepted Jesus as my Savior. And I didn't even really know what it was, but something forced me to go forward in that church and accept the Christ as my Savior. So, and then of course, 3 years later, I was blinded, and if I hadn't known Jesus, that would have been a lot tougher.
Okay.
But when people ask that same question, forget about the religious part. That's a very personal thing, and it was important for me. But I always say that. Let me think. Oh, you got to be prepared. Opportunities will come along, but you have to be prepared. If you're just sitting there at home listening to the radio and you want to be a computer programmer, it's not going to happen. You got to get out there and make it happen.
Yes.
And
you create your luck.
You create. That's a good way to put it. The harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. It sounds like, I mean, it's just an incredible story, a very inspiring story. I mean, everybody here is looking at it going, man, don't feel sorry for yourself, man. You make what you want out of your world, and sometimes the world sucks. Yeah, that's the way things are in life, but it's how you respond. Oftentimes you look at somebody and not to get too philosophical here, but it really is about the character. And what are you going to do with it? And the Lord gives us what we can handle, right? And so part of your journey and coming into Christ then was, well, down the road, guess what? This is going to be a next step. It's going to be tough. Most people can't handle it, but you can, and that's what was given to you, And man, you've been a champ on this, Ted. Absolute champ. The graphic we have up here now, the headline says Ted Henter, speed, sight, and the vision for accessibility. And it's interesting that because it really does encompass this life story that we just shared, right? That it started with speed. I mean, you were everything we know about motorcycle racing in Panama is motocross. And you got in and said, well, forget that noise, man. I want to go fast,
Faster.
And speed was where it was at. And you did that. I mean, for Christ's sakes, at 16, you're riding a motorcycle through Central America. How cool is that, And then from there, it just evolves to your professional career. And then and I will use this term very loosely, that unfortunate incident, right? Because it certainly was unfortunate, but at the same time, it created a beautiful story, at the end there. But it was something a lot of us wouldn't be able to deal with and handle it. And you did it like a true Zonian champ, and then from there, you've gone on to not only embrace that technology, but you've become a skier, a professional champion skier. You've come back to Panama and raced and crossed from ocean to ocean in a Cayuco again, So, I mean, man, if this doesn't inspire you people to get up there one day and say, to hell with everything out there that's putting me to stop, I'm going to keep going, man. You're not stopping me,
Well, very nice. And I've also, Pablo Pareto and Al Schoner and I and a few others did a lot of work for the Helen Keller School in Panama and the Patronal Ciegos.
Yeah. Pablo's still involved. Recently, they did a big donation to them, as I saw his some of his
he
posts.
had very kind words to say about you, and we mentioned the other day that you were coming on the show, and he's obviously very busy with the Canal Zone reunion. But he had nothing but very, very kind words to say about it. And it seems like everybody does that. And now from hearing your story, it really isn't a kindness about feeling sorry for you. It's a kindness about being impressed by what this Zonian has done with his life and inspired so many people.
And how do we step up our life?
Yeah, indeed, But as a Zonian, I mean, dude, you are a cool Zonian, man. I mean, it would have been awesome growing up with you, man, because you definitely.
You guys are too nice. But let me say one final thing. my wife is the best. I wouldn't be here without her.
We agree.
Mel Little Henter.
Yes.
And my parents were fabulous too. I was treated like the baby Jesus. So,
but it looks like they instilled a lot of great values in you, you know,
they
and
did
sense of hard work and the adventure, which is again a cool Zonian attribute, is that sense of adventure. You know, you married your high school sweetheart, you know, and let me ask you about that without getting too personal there. But you know, how was that for Mel? Because like you said, you guys only been together 2 years when you lost your eyesight and everything. And you know, what would you say are probably the 2 or 3 biggest things that she's done and been there for you? Because even this afternoon she was helping us out a little bit to get you connected there.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's, you know, she for some reason she was in love with me and wasn't going to let go. So even when I went blind, she was right there with me no matter what happened. And
excellent.
She's been by my side all the way. Whatever I wanted to do, you know, go away and get my guide dog, start a business with Bill Joyce, go to Maryland to go to work for Dean Blasey. That was a big move. You know, Dean offered me a job, and I said, there's no way I'm moving to Maryland. My wife and I like it in Florida, and our family's here. As soon as I told Mel about it, she said, what? Call him up.
I
The
love
job's
it.
still there. So she's been right there, helping me make the right decisions, helping me with whatever I need to do, raising our kids. So she's
champion,
a champion, and I'm trying to make sure I say it right. But one of the reasons you guys are saying such nice things about me is she's half of that. She's got me to that point, and I had
understand that.
My parents were great people too, and I've had a lot of good friends just help me out. Like when I was motorcycle racing, I had my friends helping me. And in software, I had some friends helping me and wanted to come to work at our company. And it's just been a great life, a lot of great people. And I'm not here because I did it myself. I had a lot of help.
No, but you were definitely chosen for this special role, and I think, you know, part of what was going to help you accomplish that plan that the Lord had for you was putting Mel in your life, you know, and he made you guys this incredible team that Ted Henter gets all the credit, but we know that behind the scenes, you know, we know the driving force. It's always the wives. They're the ones that really drive the boat and keep us there. And all kidding aside, I mean, there are going to be days that you get up and you're down and out, and this is when it's nice to have somebody that you know is counting on you and has that faith and that confidence in you. And yeah, you've been blessed, Ted, for sure. And congrats on that. Mel, thank you. If you're listening, thank you for being a wonderful wife to this guy that's given so much to the world. And we're all very appreciative.
Very grateful. Very grateful. Yes. And Ted, there's been a tremendous amount of love. People are saying thank you for sharing your story. This has been an amazing time. So thank you for I'm speaking for all my viewers. Thank you so much, Ted.
Yeah,
my pleasure, Rick, and my pleasure. Thank you, guys. It's always good to talk about the Canal Zone.
Absolutely.
It is, absolutely. You know, we learned a great Ted Henter story, but like we just mentioned earlier, we want to do a surfing story. And you definitely, as one of those pioneers, we will definitely be
the pioneer
on that one for sure. Because we got a lot more stories to go there. We want to do another revisit to the Cayuca race, so you may be joining us for that one as well, if you don't mind. Because
if you don't mind, we would love to have you. I'm sure our viewers too, because we had a big house tonight. Lots of people are on watching.
Yeah, no, it's been
my pleasure, guys. Just let me know. Thank you very much, Will and Rick. You guys have a great
anytime, and anytime you ever want to visit again, you want to come in and say hello, you're always going to have an open invitation here. And like I said, I found out from just chatting with you recently that, you know, we're fairly close to each other. You're in St. Pete, I'm in Tampa, so I definitely want to have lunch with you someday and meet you in person and carry on more of this conversation, because it's been absolutely fascinating. So
yeah, come on over. I'll take you to the yacht club.
Absolutely, yes, definitely. You came to our yacht club, we'll go to your yacht club next. So, all right. Well, listen, Ted, thank you again so much. Have yourself a wonderful weekend, a wonderful 2026, and we will be talking to you soon. Cheers, my friend.
Gracias, Ted. Gracias.
De nada.
Yes.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Rick, that was awesome, dude. That was an amazing interview.
It's
wow.
This Canal Zone community is unbelievable.
Nothing but
really
love here, man, and nothing but appreciation for what we had and we were all provided with and given.
Yeah, good show, Willie. Good show.
It was a lot of fun.
We're
It
very
was
fortunate.
Really well done, and I mean, this guy is just an absolute champ. An absolute champ in every way, shape, and form. Well, I mean, what a cool Zonian, even before all those other stories, man. I mean, this guy had it going on.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Hey, I'm feeling so blessed. Yeah, this has been great spiritually too. That's
it has.
Hit in the right
spot. A lot
spot,
of people
man.
really wanted to hear this message, and so it's. I'm glad we were able to pull it off because it was a great message, and we're just absolutely fortunate to have so many great Zonians, and fortunate that you and I, Ricky, are able to do this every Friday and come out and share these stories with everybody because it's a lot of fun. We learn a lot of new things, and we're making great friends. Great Zonian friends. So it's been awesome, and
It's a great community, and it's a place where everybody knows your name.
Yes, indeed it is, man. That was so cool, and that's what I love about the comments. People sharing the comments. I saw Vern earlier. I meant to say hello to Vern as well. Vern's on a cruise ship out in the ocean there, and chiming in. So awesome.
We've had a great evening. Everybody is on tonight. Good to see you, John. Good to see you, Mr. Dupree. All the Duprees. There's like 3 or 4 of them on. Yeah. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
For this very special guest.
Yeah, and don't forget, next week is the last episode of the month, so it'll be a recap. We're going to recap not only, the episodes this month, but we're also going to recap the Canal Zone reunion because it's been really awesome. But our Red Chivas out there, man, is telling me to get the hell out of here.
That means we're out of here. Man. All right, guys, this was a great show. Sorry for again, I screwed it up at the beginning, but now I got the right checklist. I won't screw up my next week's show.
Take care, guys. Have an awesome weekend, everybody. Canal Zone reunion, rock on. See you guys. Take care, Ricky.